Hello friends, welcome to Story Time. Today, we're taking a look at a horror movie released in 2015. Named Howl. The movie begins by introducing Joe, a quiet man who works as a train conductor. Early in the scene, Joe arrives at work looking tired after another normal day. He walks through the station while other workers are busy around him. Soon, he reaches his locker and receives a letter. Joe opens it and slowly reads that he did not get the promotion he was hoping for. Instead of moving to a better position, he is asked to continue doing the same late-night train job. The manager talks to him in a very normal and formal way, almost like it is just another office update. He hesitated at first, but when he found out his crush was also doing the same late-night shift, Joe does not argue much and quietly leaves the room. After that, the movie shows him preparing for the night train journey. He checks tickets, walks through the platform, and meets different passengers one by one. The scene takes time showing Joe's regular routine before the train finally leaves the station and heads into the dark night. The late-night train suddenly stops in the middle of a dark forest area. At first, the passengers think it is just a small technical problem, and everyone stays calm inside the train. The train staff walks through the compartments and tries to check what is wrong. Some passengers start looking outside the windows, but it is too dark to clearly see anything. After the train grinds to a sudden violent halt in the dead center of the dark, the train driver Tony assumes they've just hit some debris or a wild animal on the tracks. Frustrated and just wanting to get the route over with, he radios traffic control, only to be told he has to get out and clear the tracks himself. As he walks to the front of the train, he discovers the gruesome cause of the breakdown. A massive, mutilated deer is jammed directly into the undercarriage. He manages to pull the bloody carcass free, but just as he thinks his job is done, he realizes he is being watched. The forest goes dead silent. Tony's flashlight cuts through the dense fog, catching strange movements in the trees. Before he can even process what he is looking at, a creature lunges from the darkness. Inside the carriages, at first, everyone is just frustrated about the delay. But as the minutes stretch on, the silence of the forest outside begins to feel incredibly heavy. Joe, the young ticket collector, realizes Tony has been gone far too long. When he tries to contact the driver's cabin via the intercom, he gets nothing but static. When they reach the front cabin, they find the door locked from the inside. After forcing it open, they discover it is completely empty. Determined to find him, Joe opens the main train door to peer outside into the fog. He shouts Tony's name into the dark forest, but the only response is the eerie whistling of the wind. One of the passengers named Adrian takes charge, arguing that sitting tight is a death sentence. He points out that the nearest station, Hope Valley, is only a few miles down the tracks. Despite Joe's weak protests that they should stay behind locked doors, the group's collective panic wins out. They decide to risk the dark and walk the tracks. The survivors step out into the freezing, foggy night, walking in a single file line between the rails. The atmosphere is thick with tension, every snapping twig and rustling leaf sets them on edge. As they push deeper into the dark, the forest around them goes completely quiet, a classic sign that a predator is near. Suddenly, the shadows begin to shift. The monster being stalking them from the tree line, darting between trunks faster than their flashlights can track. As the group begins walking down the pitch-black tracks into the woods, Joe and Ellen make a horrifying discovery. They stumble upon Tony's eviscerated, mutilated body. Realizing that whatever killed him is still out there watching them, panic sets in. Joe immediately screams for everyone to turn around and run back to the safety of the train carriages. Just as they are reaching the train doors, the creature catches up to the group and lunges. It strikes Jenny, an elderly passenger who was running with her husband, Ged. The monster viciously bites into her leg, dragging her down. The other passengers manage to pull her away and haul her back inside the train car, slamming the doors shut just in time. The passengers realize they are completely trapped, and tension explodes within the group. They don't have cell phone service either. It turns out that whatever is outside damaged the train's roof antenna when it broke down, cutting off all communication with the outside world. Before they can even think about going back outside, the creature launches a direct attack on the train itself. The monster tries to force its way into the cabin, scratching violently at the metal roof and slamming against the reinforced, double-paned passenger windows. As the monster scrambles across the roof of the train, its movement briefly repositions it away from the antenna area, causing cell phone reception to randomly blip back on for a second. Suddenly, Nina's phone rings. Desperate to answer it and call for help, Nina panics and moves away from the main group into a less secure, unbarricaded section of the carriage. The creature hears her, smashes directly through the window glass from the roof, and violently pulls Nina out of the train into the night. Horrified by Nina's sudden death, the remaining survivors realize the regular windows won't keep the monsters out for long. They retreat into a single, central carriage. using onboard maintenance tools, metal grates, and whatever heavy luggage or loose seating they can tear apart, they begin aggressively boarding up and reinforcing the windows and doors to turn the train car into a makeshift fortress. While the remaining survivors are inside the barricaded car, a Slavish passenger named Paul separates from the group to use the toilet in an adjacent, unsecured carriage. The fragile safety of the locked train car completely shatters. After terrorizing them from the roof, a massive, werewolf unique, fleshy hybrid that looks unsettlingly human yet monstrously distorted smashes its way directly into the main cabin. The air fills with screams and the screeching tearing of metal. The Slavish passenger, Paul, is brutally ambushed in the adjacent bathroom, leaving the remaining survivors trapped in a metal coffin. Rather than freezing, the submissive train guard Joe and the bookish Matthew find a primal surge of courage. The scene reached its glory when Matthew, the quiet, nerdy guy, grabbed the heavy, red fire axe off the wall, lifted it high over his head, and brought it screaming down into the monster. The werewolf hit the floor, bleeding heavily, completely still. Matthew stood over it, his hands shaking so violently he could barely hold the handle, his eyes wide with horror. Joe cautiously stepped forward, waving his heavy flashlight around. He told everyone to stay back. He leaned down, poking the creature. Up close, it was sickening. It had thick hair and distorted bones. That's when Kate pointed out the fact that underneath the mutation, it looked disturbingly human. Adrian also agreed with Kate's statement. By looking at the monstrous figure lying in front of them, they understood that whatever is out there in the woods, it turns humans into these things. Suddenly the monster's yellow eyes snapped open. It let out a wet, gasping growl. Everyone began to panic. Joe grabbed a heavy metal fire extinguisher, lifted it up, and slammed it down onto the creature's head with a sickening crack. This time, it went completely limp, dead for good. But the real nightmare was just beginning. From outside the frosted windows, deep in the foggy woods, a chilling chorus of multiple howls echoed through the night. There weren't just one or two monsters out there. There was a whole pack. Inside the carriage, time was running out. Ged was sitting by his wife, Jenny, who had been bitten early, began to show symptoms of mutation. Her skin was turning pale gray, her eyes were changing to a sickly yellow. Recognizing what she is becoming, the aggressive businessman, Adrian, tries to kill her. A massive argument breaks out. Jenny's devoted husband, Ged, stops him, and the group overpowers Adrian, tying him up to keep everyone safe. Billy then realized that their only chance to escape was to fix the broken fuel line, and goes under the train to work, while Joe and Ellen monitor the dashboard controls and Matthew keeps watch outside. Suddenly, Matthew hears what sounds like Nina crying out for help in the dark forest. Ignoring the danger, he walks into the woods to find her, only to discover a horrifying sight, a werewolf actively eating Nina alive. Before Matthew can react, the rest of the pack swarms and kills him. Billy successfully completes the patchwork, and the train engine roars back to life. As it starts moving down the tracks, the werewolves try to board the moving train. One of the werewolf grips onto Kate at an open doorway. Kate tries to fight it off. Adrian, who has been freed from his restraints thinking only about saving his own skin, kicks Kate right out of the moving train into the dark wood. Her screams cut short as the pack swarmed her. Inside the carriage, Jenny's transformation completes. She turns into a mutated caveman-like beast, instantly killing her own husband, Ged. She then lunges at Adrian. Just as she was about to bite his face off, Joe rushed in with a metal pipe, hitting her across the jaw and finishing her off. Just as safety seems within reach, Billy's makeshift fuel patch ruptures again. The train grinds to a final, permanent halt, allowing the pursuing werewolf pack to catch up and aggressively flood the carriages. When the werewolf enters the carriage and lunges at them, Adrian shows his true colors once again. He traps Joe and Ellen in a compartment to act as bait for the monsters while he attempts to escape into the woods. Just when they thought they were finished, the door to the next carriage slammed open. It was Billy. He was holding a glass bottle filled with train fuel and a burning rag. Billy launched the bottle. It shattered against the floor, and a massive wall of fire erupted inside the carriage, completely engulfing the werewolves. The monsters let out a roar as the flames began to spread. As they were about to escape, the werewolves charged forward, grabbed Billy and brutally killed him. Joe grabbed Ellen's hand, dragging her away from the spreading fire. Joe and Ellen break free and run for their lives into the pitch-black forest, closely pursued by the werewolves. Realizing they won't both make it, Joe makes a heroic final stand. He tells Ellen to keep running, sacrificing himself to buy her time. He fights bravely but is brutally mauled and bitten. Thanks to his sacrifice, Ellen safely makes it to Eastborough Station as morning breaks, clutching Joe's uniform name tag. The final scene delivers a dark twist of poetic justice. Adrian, having successfully escaped the train, is lost and stumbling helplessly through the woods in daylight. Suddenly, the werewolf pack surrounds him. Stepping out from the trees as the leader of the pack is Joe, who has now fully transformed into a werewolf. Joe lunges forward, attacking and killing Adrian as the film cuts to black.